Welcome back to 2DGe for yet another beer review. This is again one of our Western Swing beers. What do we got today?
Today we have Overrated from Surly Brewing Company up in Minnesota. As close as it is to us here in Northeast Indiana, we still can't get it here. They are growing though, so hopefully in the next couple of years we can maybe start to see a little bit of it. This is a West Coast IPA, sitting at about 7.3% ABV.
Awesome. It's going to be interesting. The Surly, the last review of a Surly we did, I think, fell a little short.
Yeah, it was for Furious. It was.
I should say it fell short of the hype.
Yeah, the hype for us was a little. I don't want to say it was disappointing, but it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Agreed.
All right, but let's get
let's get over to West Coast IPA. Let's check it out. All right, we're going to get a pour on. So far it's looking pretty classic, a little light, until it gets in the can, then it darkens up, nice golden honey color. Pretty decent head, a lot of small bubbles on there, I'd say.
Yeah, about a finger ahead. You actually do see a lot of hop haze in here. You can't really see it, I guess, on the camera, but you're just going to have to trust me.
Well, you never know.
And there are hop particles in here. It is actually pretty hazy. Again, with canned beer and with bottled beer at all, especially unfiltered beers, which you do get a lot of from smaller breweries, particularly in craft beer. They don't filter out all of the yeast, and sometimes they bottle conditioner. But they also don't filter out all the hops, especially if they dry hop things. Which generally, this being a West Coast, they do. So that's what we mean by hop particles in there. It's just stuff that wasn't filtered out.
It's a good thing.
But anyway, you get a nice golden orange color. A little lighter than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Yeah, it still looks good.
Yeah, it looks very good.
All right, smell. Yeah. Ton of pine in this one.
I agree.
I get a lot of citrus. I'll break it down for you for that. Lemon. Not a lot of grapefruit though.
No.
A lot of pine, like we said. A lot of lemon. I'm getting a lot of lemon zest in there, not just the juice.
It's just, might be a hint of tangerine.
And I am getting the quote-unquote cat pee smell, which isn't a bad thing.
Maybe that's the overripe tomato that I equate.
Yeah, say when you hear that, if you've heard it described, generally it's with an IPA, you tend to get a cat pee smell. And this comes a lot from actually Citra hops, which I'm guessing they're not using Citra hops in this.
I don't know, but I'm smelling like that overripe tomato smell, which makes it's a little more earthy.
It's actually really floral.
No, I mean, yeah. Overall, it's a floral smell, but I'm saying that to describe that overripe tomatoey thing.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of floral, a lot of lemon zest, and pine in this one. So
I'd say that
fits the traditional California style or West Coast
pretty well.
IPA. All right, let's taste it. Alright, really bitter up front, which you do expect from a West Coast style. More towards the middle of the mouth. I actually do get a lot of grapefruit from it, surprisingly. I'm also getting a lot of pine, a lot of that floral character in there as well. And then of course the lemon zest or just the overall citrus taste from that. Like I said, a lot of grapefruit for me, which is surprising. I didn't really get too much of that on the nose. On the back, an extremely dry beer, which you do expect from, again, a West Coast style IPA. Not as...
There's some tangerine still I can taste, I mean, with that.
So not as malty as I would have maybe expected, but again, true to the style, more like Stone. It is blast your mouth. bitter.
It is blast your mouth, but I'll say there's quite a fair amount of malt there. I mean, it may not be as thick as a stone, but there's plenty of malt there. But you're just so overwhelmed at the beginning.
Yeah, just a ton of upfront bitterness. Real crisp, which is a little surprising.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way, though, whatsoever.
It's got plenty of carbonation, that's for sure.
All right, what are you going to give it for style?
For style,
Mm.
I'm going to go 8.
Okay. Why?
I think it's very representative of West Coast, but
From Minnesota.
yeah, from Minnesota, that's the thing. And I think they captured it very well. I think still if you go with some true West Coast breweries, you're going to get a better, fuller, rounder beer. But this is still very good to the style. It's still very true to the style.
So, I'll give it an 8 too. They really did capture the essence of the West Coast style. And when we say that for IPAs, again, if you're new to craft beer, it's all the same. IPA is an IPA. Just the West Coast has their own specific traits, generally super bitter. Stone really started that. They weren't obviously the first craft brewery out there. A lot of people credit the rise of a West Coast style with maybe a Sierra Nevada, but Stone kind of really took that and ran with it. But yeah, typically with a West Coast you get extreme bitterness, extreme dryness, and then you also get generally a ton of piney notes and then grapefruit. Whereas versus like an East Coast is generally more malty balance to it. Think a 90 Minute from Dogfish Head. But you're also getting now two developing styles. Well, the one's older, I guess. It would be a Midwestern IPA style. Think Three Floyds. Which is,
don't forget your New England style.
well, I was getting there, yeah. New England is the new hot trend, with just ton of, say, stone fruit. What I mean by that is peaches. You get a lot of apricot, a lot of tangerine, a lot of orange juice, not just orange, but orange juice. But yeah, this one from the Midwest is a great representation of the West Coast, so I will give it an 8. For style, what are you going to give it for overall?
Overall, I think I'm going to give it a 7.5. And the reason is that because of that in your face, it's not something that I'm going to want necessarily every day. And I've really become accustomed to the what you classified as a Midwestern style IPA. So the West Coast IPA is still really in your face, and it's not something that I'd probably sit down nightly.
I say for me, to play off what you just said, the Midwest style, you do get a lot of the same qualities that you get obviously with any other IPA, tons of hop notes to it, but you also get a malt sweetness, and it's not like just for balancing. You do actually get the sweetness in the flavor, which is something that you don't generally get, especially with a West Coast. But Midwest is balanced kind of like an East Coast, but it is super hoppy in the nose, kind of like the West Coast. So it's a real good marriage of the two, but in a little bit different way.
Yeah, definitely a different way. So what about your overall?
Overall, it's tough. When I started with IPAs, I was really a fan of the West Coast style. I'll stick with an 8. In it being from a can, for me, I'm still trying to wrap my head around great beer being in a can, because certain large breweries ruined canned beer for a lot of people. But thanks to Oscar Blues, Surly, now that I'm actually getting it, they're really starting to make it cool. And
well, there's one in Florida that's I think been pioneering the way in cans out of like Miami, and they've been cans always. And
are you sure you're not thinking of Oscar Blues? Because Oscar Blues was the first brewery to can beer.
No, this one was actually out of Florida, like I was saying.
So you're probably thinking of Cigar City.
You know what? I don't remember, unfortunately. But
Tampa. But
nevertheless, Tampa.
Oh.
We're talking about Minnesota.
Yeah. But anyway,
Hit the dampen. So anyway, no, I'm not.
Yeah, like I said, when I first started getting into IPAs, which I didn't like at first, but now huge fan of the style, as a West Coast. So for me, it really embodies that style really well and better than some of the actual West Coast breweries, in my opinion. So for that reason, if I'm going to get an IPA and I'm going to get a West Coast style, I'm going to pick this one a lot of times over some of the breweries that are actually out in California, Oregon, Washington. And honestly, when they say West Coast style, you pretty much just can narrow that down to California, basically. But yeah, to me, this is really good. I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to finish on was it is a great beer, and I think this Surly surpasses the hype that we had for Furious. I will say that this one.
It's tough though, because while they are the same style, they're not the same genre of the style. So I don't know. It's tough for me to compare it, but I would say this one is better.
Yeah. But overall, I'm glad to finally say that we've got a Surly that I think represents well.
And it's not overrated.
It's worth it. Yeah. 2DGe. Out. See ya.